Please introduce yourself and spell your name.
My name is Wendi Adelson, W-E-N-D-I-A-D-E-L-S-O-N.
Ms. Adelson, where do you currently live?
I currently live in Miami Beach.
And are you here today pursuant to a state subpoena?
Yes, I am.
And do all state subpoenas confer immunity?
I don't know if all state subpoenas confer immunity, but this one does.
Okay, and do you believe that your subpoena is special or different from other state subpoenas?
I don't believe it's special or different, so I suppose they all carry immunity.
All right, and does the immunity conferred upon you by the subpoena mean that you can never be prosecuted associated with this case?
That's right.
That's what you think it means?
That's what I think it means.
Okay. And do you think, isn't it true that it's use and derivative use immunity? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, but not complete immunity from prosecution. Do you agree with that?
That's different than what you just asked before. So I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
All right, so what I'm trying to allow the jury to understand is what sort of immunity you have. What is your understanding of what it means for you to have immunity pursuant to the state subpoena?
So I have derivative and use immunity, and so in the future...
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much.
A prosecutor couldn't use what I say here today against me.
Correct. But you could be prosecuted. Just nothing you said here today could be used against you in that prosecution. Do you agree with that?
I suppose so.
Okay.
Deer in the headlights! You don't know what to do you? What are you gonna do?
This has been one of the most misunderstood parts of this case. And don't worry if you're confused. Wendi is a whole entire lawyer, and she didn't even know. So I want to clear this up right now. Wendi, you still can, and 99.9% will be tried for this case. Your immunity can't save you, and here's why. Use immunity prevents the prosecution from directly using your testimony against you in your criminal case. Derivative use immunity prevents the prosecution from using any evidence discovered or derived from your testimony against you. Basically, if you produce new information that the prosecution did not know about prior to your testimony, they cannot start an investigation into that fact. However, if the prosecution can show that they were aware of said information before your testimony, they can charge you on that information regardless. So basically, you're still screwed. Sorry.
Have you made any sort of special deal with the state attorney's office or with any law enforcement or government agent?
No.
Your understanding, though, is it doesn't mean they can't arrest you. They just can't use what you say here against you later on. So you're protected.
Correct.
And you needed that to testify, right?
It's just given to testify. It's not a question of whether I needed it. It comes with testifying.
You fear being charged by them, so you need to have that protection of
I
your
don't
words.
fear being charged for a crime I didn't commit, no.
Now, y'all had this nice exchange where it was pleasant, but there's actually tension between you and this office, right?
No.
They recently had your brother, Charles Adelson, arrested, and he's in custody, right?
Correct.
For first-degree murder.
Correct.
And there's no tension?
It's very uncomfortable to be here. It's hard to tell where the tension is coming from.
They've discussed your involvement in this case. They insinuated it on the direct examination. There's no tension?
Lots of media insinuates that I did something I didn't do too. I can't feel tension towards every person in the world.
That's funny. I thought you didn't look at anything.
I don't. That's why.
But you know that you know about the media, but you don't know about the media?
I know about the media because it keeps me from employment. It keeps me from lots of things in my life. I'm aware of what's there, but I don't read the minutia so I can sleep at night.
Ms. Adelson, 5 minutes ago you said you don't look at any of that stuff.
I
Now
don't
ask you a
look at
question.
it.
Let me finish.
Sure.
5 minutes ago you say you don't look at any of that stuff. Now I ask you a question, you say you look at stuff.
That's not actually what I said. I said I'm aware that it exists, but I don't read it. I don't listen to it.
Then how do you know that they're bashing you?
You just told me they are.
I did?
Yeah.
Actually, that was you, Wendi.
They've discussed your involvement in this case. They insinuated it on the direct examination. There's no tension?
Lots of media insinuates that I did something I didn't do too. I can't feel tension towards every person in the world.
How about this? We'll come back to it. You can think up a better answer, okay?
I'm not thinking up an answer. I'm telling you the truth. I'm sorry if you don't want to listen to it.
Your basic understanding of criminal law, though, you know that if the defense gives you a subpoena, you get no immunity.
Correct.
Correction, improper question.
I'm not going beyond that question.
All right, that's the only question you can ask on that.
If I give you a subpoena, you don't get immunity, right?
Correct.
No.
All right, the first thing that I want to address is in regards to Wendi Adelson and a non-party motion that I received. And so is Mr. Laura present? Yes, Your Honor. Okay, Mr. Laura, good morning. Let's see, we don't have the podium in a good place at this point, but you could just step right up to the podium. Good morning.
Yes, Your Honor. John Loro, and with me is Miss Adelson. Your Honor, as you know, Miss Adelson has been subpoenaed by the state as well as the defense. She, without a state subpoena, would unequivocally invoke her Fifth Amendment rights. We want to make that clear for the record. In light of Your Honor's prior rulings and direction, we wanted to put that on the record. However, with respect to the state subpoena, it automatically confers use and derivative use immunity on her pursuant to Florida Statute 914.04. That use and derivative use immunity would only apply to a state subpoena and not to a defense subpoena. So in light of that, we would ask respectfully that the court quash the defendant's subpoena, since there's no purpose and no appropriate purpose in calling a witness simply to invoke in front of the jury.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Laura. Any questions that are given to Ms. Adelson if she was called with the defense case, is she going to assert her Fifth Amendment rights to any question that's asked at that time?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm assuming any question would have to be relevant and germane to the matters in this case, and as a result, she would invoke as to those questions.
All right. And so I'm just going to assert my previous ruling that I've made, and I did restate it on the record yesterday, is that she'll be required to testify under the state subpoena. The cross-examination will be limited to whatever the state's brings forth on direct. So that's what the cross-examination scope will be limited to. There's no piggybacking or bringing in any other information just because she's under the state subpoena. That's not going to be permissible. And then she's not going to be permitted to be called as a witness. Now that we know that she's just going to assert her Fifth Amendment rights, she won't be called as a witness in the defense case at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. That's
Okay.
exactly our understanding of the law.
All right. Okay. Anything else for the court?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to ask that Ms. Adelson then please remain outside the courtroom because she's subject to the rule.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
And Your Honor.
My things, please. Your murder bag, m'lady. Come now, let's away. Peasants. Okay. Let's unpack this, shall we? But first, is just no one gonna mention that Wendi is a robot? Anyone? No one? Okay then. It'll be our little secret. So our little Wendi refused to testify if not under the state subpoena. Her lawyer even threatened that she's gonna plead the Fifth if not covered by the state's immunity. And just as a refresher, the Fifth Amendment says no person shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against herself. Or as most know it, the right to remain silent, to avoid incriminating yourself. Wendi, I know people are going to say that the Fifth Amendment isn't only for the guilty. But Wendi, sweetie, come on. It's just not a good look, is all I'm saying. And the absolute funniest thing about that whole delicious monologue from her lawyer is that all that happened before she took the stand. Meaning that she had complete confidence that she had full immunity as she was up there spelling out her little name for Georgia. And as we saw, Georgia popped that bubble right away. I am dead. It is just too good.
Oh boy. All right. Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family.
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired them, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid them.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want them held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Well, let me ask you, if you found out that this was someone that you personally know, would that change your mind about what should happen to that person?
About what should happen to that person?
For prosecution purposes.
No.
Is there any way that you would think
somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Regardless of who it is?
I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family.
Okay.
Anyone outside my immediate family, that's a tough one.
Okay.
But I don't think my immediate family did this, so
Okay.
if it's anybody else, yeah.
Well, that's an absolute wild thing to say to a cop in the police station, literal hours after the murder of your ex-husband, and just moments after you yourself implicated your immediate family. It's wild for anyone to say, but for a lawyer, to be able to pick and choose who the law applies to is absolute insanity.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I say.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. No, that's not
No
right.
further questions. What was wrong with Dan's mother trying to make arrangements for the kids in the event of your arrest? Wasn't that a kind thing to do?
I don't think it's kind to put my children in foster care.
Wasn't the foster care intended only to cover the time frame that it would take for her to get on a plane and get here?
She never said that.
You thought she was just going to leave them in foster care?
I didn't know what to think. They have a mother. They don't need to be in foster care.
But they wouldn't have a mother in the event of your arrest, Ms. Adelson. Wasn't that the intention of the email?
I don't know what the intent of the email was. I was not going to be arrested for a crime I didn't commit.
She didn't know that, though, did she?
I don't know what she knows or doesn't know. I can't speak to that.
Do Dan's parents know whether you committed this crime or not?
I don't know how to answer that question.
But they wouldn't have a mother in the event of your arrest, Ms. Adelson. In the event of your arrest, Ms. Adelson. Your arrest, Ms. Adelson.
George is trying to give you a heads up, babe. Or maybe you know, and that's why you've moved only hours away from the Mexican border.
Feliz Navidad.
Okay. This is what I want to do, okay? This is what happened, okay? Daniel's been shot, okay? And we have to find out why and who did this. Can you help with that?
I will try.
Okay. What I want to do right now to try to expedite things, okay? But I need your permission, is I want to take your cell phone and download all the information out of it.
Sure.
Do you have a problem with that?
No.
I gotta get a form for you to sign, and then I'm gonna get the phone started, okay?
Oh my God. I have a lot of friends.
I know.
How do you know that?
Well, you had two of them up there for a last-minute lunch date, right?
Last minute.
Well, I mean, you went up there, you're sitting with them, you have friends.
I do. What I meant by it is that Danny didn't treat me very well, and I'm
Okay.
so scared that maybe someone did this. Not because they hate Danny, but because they thought this was good somehow. Do I need to be read my Miranda rights or something if you're gonna look at my phone?
I can read you Miranda if you want to hear
I don't know,
that.
I'm just trying to make sure I'm being
I have no
protected.
reason, I have no reason at this point to suspect you in this incident, okay?
I couldn't tell from the way you were talking to me in the car if I was a suspect.
Well, no, and the reason was I didn't want to get into everything until we got up here. And while I'm going to get this phone taken care of, I'm gonna have a victim advocate come in here, and hopefully you can supply her with his parents.
Oh my God. They all live in Canada.
Okay.
His family's all in Canada.
Okay.
They're gonna think I did it.
Now.
I have to take a second here. I've seen people give Detective Isom a lot of crap saying he was too soft on Wendi. We have to remember a few things. One, he knows that she's a lawyer. His job is to get as much information out of her as he can without raising her suspicions. And even though it doesn't sound like she says much, he knows where the real information is going to come from. He's about to do a full extraction of her phone. And that's not all he's getting from her today. He already knows that she drove to the crime scene. And he doesn't buy her act at all. Listen to how he responds to her saying, "They're gonna think I did it."
Now.
No sympathy in his voice at all.
Just don't jump to conclusions on that.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
All right, let me go get the form for the phone, okay?
Oh my God.
Sorry, you okay?
Yeah. No.
Okay, I, Wendi Adelson, and I gotta change this.
Adelson.
I know, I gotta change that.
It's okay. It's Adelson.
Actually, it's spelled right. I said it wrong. Adelson. Do hereby authorize and give my permission to investigator Isom, who has identified himself to me as a law enforcement officer with necessary assistance of a digital forensic examiner to make a full and complete search of my cell phone or other digital media, along with data located on additional data sources, locations such as connected to, at, and were at the Tallahassee Police Department. That's the address. I have been advised that law enforcement are engaged in investigation concerning an alleged violation of federal or state law pertaining to a shooting incident. I do further Authorized to give permission to take from my cell phone located at 230 47th Avenue.
I'm sorry, is that the police station?
That's where we're at right
Okay.
now, yeah. Computers, cell phones, computer peripherals, digital media data which may or may not have a connection, value, or relevance as evidence in said investigation. The above law enforcement officer has fully and fairly advised me on rights as follows. I have the right to refuse consent of the search of my property. I have the right to consult with an attorney or any other person of my choice prior to giving them consent and permission to search the above described property. Any cellular phones, computers, computer peripherals, and digital media or data, along with any data located on these items or on additional digital storage locations such items can connect to, found by said officers in the course of their search, can be used as evidence against me or others in a court of law. I fully understand and appreciate these rights and wish it be specifically understood that I'm hereby giving consent permission to conduct the search of the cellular phones, computers, computer peripherals, and digital media data, along with any data located on any additional digital storage locations such items can connect to, solely because of my desire to freely and voluntarily cooperate and assist in this investigation. I have not been promised anything or been threatened or coerced in any way, nor has any inducement of any kind been held out to me in return for this consent and permission to search. Okay, can I have your phone now?
Yeah. Stupid question, but
go ahead.
are you gonna give it back?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I feel like I need to help
No,
my
you're gonna
family.
get-
What's going on?
No, you're gonna get it back. It's just I'm trying to expedite this now so I can get it back to you sooner.
I understand.
Be right back.
So, what were they able to get from Wendi's phone? Let's see.
Let's talk about selective decoding. This is a feature that we recently put inside of Physical Analyzer. What it allows you to do is choose what is decoded application-wise. Now, something you need to be aware of. If you simply say, please decode WhatsApp and maybe Snapchat, you will also have underlying artifacts that may pertain to WhatsApp and Snapchat that are also parsed. So don't be alarmed if you get some photos and maybe contacts and calls that were made inside of these applications. We are trying to make a list that makes it crystal clear to you on what is included when you select these buttons. So stay tuned for that. In order to leverage this, I'm going to choose File and Open Case. The case wizard is going to open. Select Add and then Load Extraction. So I'm going to load a UFED extraction. I'm going to navigate out to my desktop and into some images that I have. And I'm going to choose this UFDX file. From here, you want to select Next. Now comes the important part, and you will see this new button that appears, and it tells you to learn more. You can always select on it, and it tells you what selective decoding is, and it allows you to choose apps you wish to decode to speed up the processing time. So I'm going to say yes, I want to include that, and examine data. At this point, Physical Analyzer is going through and scanning all the applications that are available on that device. This may take a few seconds or a few minutes, so just be patient. A list will appear when the scanning is complete. Now you have several options on what you can do. You could say, you know what, I only care about social networking applications. I want to go into that category and I want to check boxes for those items. Or I want to search for it. I know that WhatsApp is important to me. So I'm going to search for WhatsApp and I'm going to choose WhatsApp Messenger. Now notice when I check WhatsApp Messenger under chat applications, it also checked the box under social networking. Once you're happy with what you have included, select Continue. At this point, processing will go through, as always, in Physical Analyzer. However, it's going to be faster because you have taken control on what you want to process. This is a fast way for you to triage your case or get a quick glimpse on what the user was using for applications of interest. Hi everyone, Heather Mahalik here with another Tip Tuesday. I want to discuss with you a new feature built into Cloud within Physical Analyzer. So I'm going to go to Cloud Extraction Private Cloud Data, and I'm going to enter the first and last name, Hank Rules, of the person I'm examining, my examiner names, original extracted value, and any other options of choice. So you can choose your path and whatever you want to save it as, and then press Next. Now I want to search for WhatsApp because I want to show you this new WhatsApp web chat feature that we have. And here you're going to see that it's telling us you must have access to the user's mobile device. Obviously it has to be unlocked because you're going to have to scan the QR code. I select Save, and I'm going to select Next. And you'll see when it's trying to validate, it is going to tell you that you need to scan a code. So QR scan required, enter your name, giving it authority and saying you have legal rights to do this and proper jurisdiction, and say I approve. So then I go up and I scan this code. So now I scan the device and you can see it says valid, and we select Next. You can choose a date time period on what you legally have authority to be examining. So I'm going to choose January 1st through now and say use for all data sources. And as you scan down, it's going to show you what it can get. So I'm going to say apply and next, and then start extraction. At this point, Physical Analyzer is going to extract the private cloud data from this WhatsApp web based upon the QR code that you scanned and provide you access to unique artifacts that you may not otherwise have access to.
Did you communicate with anyone on WhatsApp or similar technology to relay any information about the murder of your husband?
Absolutely not.
Do you know if your brother Charlie had WhatsApp at the time?
I have no idea.
Did you communicate with him through WhatsApp?
If I had WhatsApp on my phone, then maybe I did. I know I had friends who lived around the world. At that time, WhatsApp was more of a technology used to talk to people internationally. So I know the friend I was talking to was in England. If I had WhatsApp, I would have used it to call him.
Did you know that WhatsApp, the communications are encrypted? They cannot be retrieved by law enforcement? Were you aware of that?
I think they can be retrieved by law enforcement, but it's one of the end-to-end encryption services.
All right, and so you can't tell the jury whether you communicated through WhatsApp at all on the day of the murder?
I don't remember if I had it 8 years ago. I have it now, so we could look and figure out if I had it then, but I don't know.
All right. Did you ever communicate with Catherine Magbanua at any time through WhatsApp?
I never communicated with her at all.
Let's talk for a second about WhatsApp. And as an aside here for a second, the government asked you the question if you used WhatsApp, right? You remember that?
I remember them asking me, yes.
On the day that Professor Markel was killed, you went in for the interview, right?
I talked to the police.
And you also gave them your phone for them to inspect.
Absolutely.
All right. So the determination of what, if any, WhatsApp was being used, they would have from the download they did that day of your phone.
Sure.
Now, would you be surprised to learn that your brother used WhatsApp?
No.
You would agree with me that WhatsApp, and you explained it well, is end-to-end encryption.
Correct.
In your lay opinion, if you can explain to the jurors, just in case they don't know, what that means.
I know that it's something we use at my work because essentially it has the ability to keep things more private. I also know that nothing's actually private and that anyone who wants to can uncode the messages. So that's what we tell people at our work.
So the thought is with WhatsApp, if I use my phone and I call somebody, the call could be listened to. If I text somebody, it's recordable, right?
I think so.
But with WhatsApp, you can send messages or have phone calls where there's no record of it.
I don't think that's true. I think there is still a record of it.
But the belief and the thought, I'll withdraw that question. Your lay understanding, though, is that the footprint that it leaves is much less than that of normal communications.
I think it's different, but I think it still leaves a digital footprint that's easily uncodable.
If you were to send a WhatsApp message to Ms. Kappelman, it would show that a message was sent, but it would be hard to get what the content of the message is.
I don't think that's true.
Did you have WhatsApp on your phone at that time?
I don't know if in 2014 I had WhatsApp. Now we use it for all the parent chats at school, so everybody seems to have it, but I don't know if everybody had it back in 2014.
What is WhatsApp?
WhatsApp is kind of an app you would use for texting.
Do you know if your brother Charlie had it at that time?
I have no idea if he had it at that time.
Did you ever communicate with Charlie through WhatsApp?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. If I had it at that time or if I had it later, I probably would have.
Just not sure.
Yeah,
Did you have any contact of any kind with Catherine Magbanua on the day of Dan Markel's murder?
No.
Did you ever communicate with her through WhatsApp?
No, I never communicated with her at all.
All right, let's talk about, well, you communicated with her on the beach.
I saw her in person, but I'm saying I never texted with her, called her. I never communicated via a device other than in person.
Okay.
Look over there!
Why would Georgia Kappelman waste so much time talking about WhatsApp if it had no relevance? And let's listen to what Katie Magbanua's lawyer said in her opening statement.
And just so you know, the state and the FBI were able to get a copy of Charles Adelson's iCloud account, in this case, from the year 2012, I believe, all the way up to 2016. And I am talking about every text message, every instant message, every WhatsApp message, even the conversations that he tried to delete. It's all there.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
This morning before we started, took a stack of exhibits, that's all from the government's discovery, over to their table and went through it one by one. Anything that I intend to be using for Mr. Rivera that I think is even remotely, there's a chance that he will be presented with, has been shown to the government. Again, it's from their discovery. The greater issue that I keep getting asked by ASA Dugan is, we want everything. And I keep explaining, saying, the defense were different than the government, were reactionary. My quiver is filled with their discovery. And I pull arrows out of that quiver as they do different things. Now, we have hundreds of thousands of messages. Before you, Your Honor, you can see the cornucopia statements just from Luis Rivera. We don't know what we're going to use yet. I can assure the court and I can assure the government that just like this morning, when I know something's definitely going in, they're going to get it and they're going to see it. There are certain things that we just don't know. But I have gone over with them, and I'm sure that ASA Kappelman remembers, and we were right at the desk right there, and I flipped over the pages and I showed everything, and I go, these are the items we're using. And again, everything is from their discovery.
All right, so let me make sure that we're clear. So any item that you know at this point for certain that you are going to use, you have shown to the state, and it's all from their discovery that they provided to you anyway.
Yes.
Okay, and then you have some items that you don't know whether you're going to use or not at this point.
That makes it seem like I have it set aside. I don't have things set aside, but if there's a statement that's wildly different, if Luis Rivera, and he's given different statements, if he says something wildly different, then I may need to pull that arrow and say, well, wait a second, here's a text message.
All right. Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Ms. Kappelman?
I think it's really the iCloud messages that we're arguing about. I mean, so far the defense has pulled out the arrows of multiple iCloud messages that they obviously planned for and intended to use with witnesses. In our estimation, taken them out of context and put us in a posture to have to review the context and provide the context in the middle of a witness. So I would just like the opportunity to review the iCloud messages that they're going to confront witnesses with beforehand, if possible.
Are these iCloud messages that you already have?
They're iCloud messages
That's
from...
provided by the state?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Tens of thousands of messages. So basically, if the state needs to find a specific message, what would that be like? Take it away, Charlie.
It has to be 1 in 10,000. And maybe they're sitting there saying it's one. I'm saying 1 in 10,000. Maybe these dudes are saying it's 1 in a million.
Whoa, that's a lot of texts. What juicy tidbits could the state be saving for Wendy's indictment? Do we remember what else they searched at the station?
Hey, Wendy. Another kind of question we have. Do you want, if we get in touch with one of your friends, you think it's best if maybe they picked up the kids first, or?
Just because it's 4:15 now, I didn't know time-wise what we'd be looking at.
I just don't want to bring them. I was about to say I don't want to traumatize them, but they're about to get plenty traumatized.
I'm sorry, but this gives me chills every time I watch it. The casual, giddy way she says this makes my skin crawl. It sounds rehearsed, it's giving attention seeking, it feels completely disingenuous. I feel like any person with half a conscience would be so broken for what their kids are about to have to endure. I think it's the fact that she's more interested in ingratiating herself to the police than rushing to be with her kids, and that screams how guilty she is. She is so concerned with what she thinks would look good to the police that she's not even considering that her kids need her the most. And speaking out loud about how traumatized her kids are going to be without completely breaking down shows what a sociopath she is.
And they can take them home.
Right. I just don't know what would be less upsetting for the boys.
That's up to you.
What I would most like.
Or we can make arrangements with the school and just say, look, it's going to be a little late. You need to work with us, and mom and a friend will come.
I think they do keep it open till like 5:30
okay.
or so. So what I would most like would be to pick them up myself and have someone with me in case I don't feel like I can drive well.
That's fine. And Lynn would be your first option to come here.
Lynn would be my first choice, or Alan, her husband.
Okay. And you're okay with me speaking with them and telling them to come here?
Yeah.
First, and
my car is.
We have the car is here.
Oh, they got it here.
I think they were bringing it here, and I think.
Did they take my keys?
I don't
How did
know.
they get the car here?
I don't know.
I guess you guys.
Well, I may be wrong. I thought. Investigator Isom, it may still be at the other place, was going to touch base. Oh, okay. I may not. I may be wrong. Was going to touch base with you about, because I know he's done a bunch of different stuff as far as doing your hands and all that stuff, to see if you'd be willing to let us look in your car to see if there's anything, you know. Okay.
Search the car.
And so he'll have another form for you
That's
to do.
fine.
Okay. So I will call them, and the question is, I will not tell them what's going on until they get here.
I would tell them.
Okay. I just didn't know them driving. Are they good friends with him as well?
They've been mutual friends, but they're more my friends.
Okay.
I mean, I think everyone's gonna be devastated.
Sure.
To you
And maybe
about
I'll
this,
just
but-
say that you're up here, you're fine, but they need to come pick you up, and then we can do that here, you know?
I mean, I think you can tell them Wendy needs help. Picking up the boys because of what's happened. Like, I think you can tell them why I need them.
That's fine.
And that's fine.
She said she's fine with the van, searching the van and stuff when,
Do
you
you
know,
want-
because we were talking about that. All right, I will take care of this, Wendy.
Thank you. I don't know who that is. Is she another victim advocate?
She's
No.
a sergeant with us.
Okay. That was very gendered of me. Sorry.
That was what?
No, you're
Assuming
okay.
she's a
No.
victim advocate because she's a woman.
No.
You're welcome. I'll fill out whatever paperwork you want.
Right here.
Search the van. I can read it.
Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Will you witness that, Sarah?
Sure.
We got an alternative for the kids.
What's the alternative?
I mean,
Right
somebody
now,
else.
Joanna's calling one of her friends that she gave us and trying to see if they can have the friend come here,
Right.
and then they can go together and pick up the children. That way
Okay.
she'll have a support system.
Right, absolutely. The receipt you just rolled up, what was that for?
That was lunch. I was trying to find the receipt from the bourbon, but I may have put it with the bourbon. This is from yesterday. It's lunch. But these are old ones. I was looking for the bourbon, but I must have put it in the bag with the bourbon that I kept in the car.
Can I hold on to this one for Mosaic?
Sure.
Okay. Do you need it to balance your book payment?
No,
Okay.
sir, that's fine.
And what's this?
I just didn't want you to think I was crumbling up other receipts. They're
No,
just-
it wasn't for that. I just was thinking before.
No, I just thought I would find the bourbon one.
Yeah.
But I must have put it in the bag.
Just looking at the dates.
I eat a lot. I lost the key to my house, so I went to buy many spare keys to give to friends around town so I don't get locked out of my house again.
Okay.
So that's
All
what
right.
that is. It's my many spare keys that are now around Tallahassee, which now makes me nervous.
Okay. I know the receipt that I might be interested in is the gas receipt.
Yeah. Oh, I asked for no receipt,
Okay.
so I can give you my
That's okay.
charge card information, but
If I need it later on.
I didn't get a receipt.
That's all right.
Okay.
But you bought the bourbon over there sometime afternoon and then went to, okay. All right.
It should be, the bourbon's in the car,
Okay.
so it should be in there.
Okay. I'll get started on this and we'll hold on to this.
Are you bringing the car here?
Yes, I think it's already here.
How did they bring it here without
Tow truck.
keys?
Tow
Tow
truck.
truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to be as efficient as possible. All right, so we're working on the
Yep, Joanna's trying to make contact now with some friends.
okay, and then they'll come here hopefully.
Hopefully, as long as she can get.
Do you think I need to, I had like a whole weekend of plans ahead with the kids and stuff, like, should I start contacting people and let them know that like I can't, what's a good idea? I just, like, I can't show up for like play dates right now, so.
Sure, yeah.
I don't know, like, do you want me not to tell people what's going on? Is this like,
Well,
I got that call from Lisa Carey, so like, how did she find out?
well, she said she saw something in the neighborhood or heard
She
something,
said she
right?
heard there was a shooting on Trescott. I thought because she's a real estate agent, maybe she was rolling around and she saw Trescott, but how did, like, is it on the news? Like, did.
Well, I can tell you that there was news media out there with cameras, but I don't know if anything has been reported as to the specific address.
Okay.
I don't know what our public information office has released.
I'm asking for you, like,
Okay.
I don't want to, like, make this.
She wants to know what she can tell people or what she can't right now.
Which, in
Well,
terms of making things better or worse for you.
I would say that for right now, I would not deny to anybody that something did happen, but you
if
could.
I'm gonna call and cancel all my, like, I'm supposed to be at a party tonight, like.
Okay, I can't. Basically, I can't go. There's been an incident.
So I
that's
can
happened
just
in front
tell
of
people I'm just not going to be able to be
Right.
there. I'll talk to you later, and that's
Right.
it.
That's
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want you. I don't want you not to have a support network of friends.
Yeah.
And
Well, I will
you-
tell who needs to know, but like
Right.
I also, I don't.
You want to explain this to 1,000 people.
Well, it's not about. It's yes, but I don't think that's good for the kids. Like, I don't want people. I don't know what to do about, like, the kids are really young. I don't know what to do in terms of that reaction, but I also am kind of scared that there's like some maniac out there, and I would like for you to find whoever that is. So I don't want to make things worse in some way in terms of you being able to find someone.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking.
Just I would just only tell the people that need to know that are closest to you for your benefit. And anyone else, if they inquire, you can tell them any excuse you want. You can say, the police have asked me not to discuss it.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
I'll throw you under the bus.
Okay, I'm used to that.
Okay. That's it, I swear, I'm just blowing my nose.
You're all right.
Now, I've gotten conflicting information on this, so I'm not going to pretend to definitively know, but it might have been possible to get additional geolocation data from her van. Jeffrey Lacasse did report that her van had GPS at the time.
Had to use the GPS on the way down there, and in it I discover that, last 50 destinations get recorded. I didn't even mean to look at this one, but I see she's been in the Hilton in Orlando like 2 weeks ago when she wasn't supposed to be anywhere near Orlando. She had put the Hilton in. Assume that's like a sex trip with one of these other boyfriends. So I got really upset with her, and we finally had it out.
I know her van was a 2007 Honda Odyssey, but depending on what type of system it used, there's a possibility that geolocation data from the phone could have also been backed up in the van. And again, this is nowhere near my area of expertise, but I just wanted to throw it out there as something to consider.
And as far as you knew at that time, the kids, what school were they attending?
They went to creative preschool.
Okay, and when you would drop the kids off at Creative Preschool, do you have to sign them in?
You do have to sign them in.
Okay, and then, so there should be a record of the days that the boys would have been at the preschool.
That's right.
What time would you drop the boys off? Do you remember? Is it an early morning thing, or?
I would drop them off in the morning. I don't remember, maybe it was 8, maybe it was 9.
Where were your kids supposed to be at the time that you encountered that roadblock?
They would have been at school.
And that's at the Creative Preschool?
That's right.
Who took them to preschool that day?
Danny.
And who was supposed to pick them up from preschool that day?
Me.
All right, so did you know for sure that they had made it to preschool that day at the time you encountered the roadblock?
I just assumed. I mean, if they hadn't made it to preschool, Danny would have let me know, but...
Did you attempt to call Dan Markell when you encountered the roadblock?
No, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was related to the house.
We could see what time I called him. I thought it was more of like, let's see, recent calls. I called him, well, that's him calling in at 9:02. I called him at 11:42 and got his answering machine.
He called you at 9:02?
He called me at 9:02.
I would drop them off in the morning. I don't remember, maybe it was 8, maybe it was 9.
So did you know for sure that they had made it to preschool that day at the time you encountered the roadblock?
I just assumed. I mean, if they hadn't made it to preschool, Danny would have let me know.
Well, that's him calling in at 9:02. I called him at 11:42 and got his answering machine.
He called you at 9:02?
Me at 9:02. Me at 9:02. He called me at 9:02.
So let's get this straight. Because one of the most obvious signs pointing to Wendy's guilt is her lack of concern for her boys the morning of the murder. I feel like it's a pretty widely known piece of information that on the morning of the murder, Wendi made no attempts to check on her boys after pulling up to the crime scene. And although I've covered this at length on my channel, it's worth repeating that the crime scene consisted of Dan's house only, surrounded by crime scene tape blocking the passage through Trescott, 4 to 5 law enforcement marked vehicles, a marked crime scene forensic van, and an additional police car with its lights on, blocking the road in addition to the tape. Containing Officer Brannon, the one who spotted Wendi that day and reported her to Detective Isom. So Wendi rolls up on all of this and calls no one to confirm the welfare of her kids. But we heard what she said here, right? That the kids would have been dropped off at preschool between 8 and 9. And had they not made it, Danny would have let her know. Yet here's a missed call from Dan at 9:02. Very close to drop-off time. And she thinks nothing of it.
Were you involved in any way in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
Absolutely not.
Did you know it was going to happen, but maybe not know the details?
I knew nothing.
Is that why you went to the crime scene on the day of the homicide?
I did not go to the crime scene on the day of the homicide.
Can you show us?
Can.
What do we see here?
So this is obviously just primarily a map of the city of Tallahassee. The icon, the flag, and the address in the upper right is, or was, Miss Adelson's residence at the time of this incident. So it is the starting point of her travels that day.
Okay, so 3303 Aqua Ridgeway, that's where she lived on July 18th of 2014?
That's correct.
All right, so where did she go after she left her home that day?
She was traveling to purchase alcohol, and her travels took her down to Thomasville Road in the area of Benton Road. Coming down Centerville Road, Benton is a cut through from Centerville over to the Thomasville Road area. And so we see that she would have traveled here and then encountered where the crime scene was blocked off.
Okay. So the 2116 Trescott Drive address, that was the address of the crime scene the day of the murder?
That's correct.
Okay. And what do we see is the little yellow diamond with the exclamation point?
The Tallahassee Police Department had, again, the roadway blocked to prevent interference with the crime scene, and that is the approximate location of where the roadway was blocked and traffic could not go past.
Where did she go after she encountered that roadblock?
She would have traveled back out to Thomasville Road, to Centerville, back down to Benton, and across to Thomasville.
Where did she go once she reached Thomasville Road?
She went to the ABC Fine Wine and Spirits there, again, just south of Benton on Thomasville Road, and we see that a receipt for a purchase.
Objection, Your Honor. Overruled.
You can answer.
I believe I did, but she went to the ABC Liquors as we have a receipt for that purchase.
Okay. And the time on that receipt, it looks like you've highlighted as 12:49 p.m.
That's correct.
What was that looks like it was Bullet Rye Bourbon purchased at ABC?
It was, yes.
All right. So after she left ABC, where did she go next?
She was having lunch with friends at a restaurant, Mosaic. So she would have traveled north on Thomasville Road to the area of I-10 where Mosaic restaurant was.
Okay. Mosaic no longer around. Used to be in Market Square area though?
That's correct.
All right. So based on the location information from her calls and text messages that you were able to look at in her call detail records, were you able to determine like an approximate time that she encountered that roadblock?
Yes. So again, in the call detail records, we have a lot of different information. Call detail records is a generic term for a number of different records we're able to get from a carrier. But primarily, call detail records are a set of records that contain the dates and times of communication events. And those can be text messages or voice calls and sometimes data sessions. But with those events in that record, we again see a date and a time. If it were a voice call, we may get the duration or how long that phone call was. We see the phone numbers, who's calling who, the direction, whether it's incoming or outgoing. And then we also generally have some location information in the form of a cell site. And that will be the cell site that the handset was communicating with for that particular event. So by looking into Ms. Adelson's records, we see that we do have events with cell site locations around this time. So we have a fairly lengthy phone call that begins on a cell site, as we can see in the upper right, 12:31 p.m. And the blue dot just represents the location of the cell site. We'll talk more about cell sites and how they are broken down. But that dot just represents the location of where that cell site is. So that phone call began on a cell site that was near her home. And we can see there was, I believe, a text message that came in around 12:35 p.m. and that communicated with a cell site closer to Capitol Circle. And then we see that that call ends on a cell site that's very close to the ABC Liquors. So by knowing those times, the 12:31 that the call began, the 12:47 where the call ended, and also the receipt time of 12:49 p.m., then we have an approximate time that she would have passed by the crime scene.
And what time was that?
That would have been around 12:40 to possibly 12:45.
Okay. Now, according to Wendi Adelson's phone records, did she and Dan Markell communicate by phone on July 18th, 2014?
They did, and this is a representation of the actual call detail records. So then again, this is the kind of information that we get, the date and time of events and the locations and the who. And we can take that information and produce it into a summary. We can take our analytical software, put that in, and that allows us to assign names to phone numbers, which make it a little easier for the investigators to use. You don't have to memorize a bunch of phone numbers. We can assign names to those numbers, and it makes it a little easier for us to look at. So we're able to see who she was in contact with that morning.
Did she miss any calls from Dan Markell that morning?
There was an early morning call that I believe was missed. There was a return call later on, but there was some attempted contact with Mr. Markel.
Okay. And Dan Markel was shot by 11 a.m., right?
I believe so, yes.
What time did she call Dan Markel back?
Well, we can see at the very top, there was an incoming call from Mr. Markel.
And I think we have a pointer up there, a laser pointer for you. Thank you.
Make that work. Yeah, so that would have been at 9:02 a.m. And then we see that Mr. Markel, there was an outgoing call at 11:42. So again, being that these are her records, outgoing would be Miss Adelson trying to reach Mr. Markel.
There's the official records of her movement that morning. And I know people have said that her driving to the crime scene doesn't necessarily mean that she's guilty. And to be perfectly honest, I agree. There is nothing inherently suspicious about Wendi rolling right up to Dan's house the day that he was murdered. I think it's highly plausible that it was just a coincidence. So why lie about it? The action itself doesn't denote guilt. It is everything she did after that makes her look guilty as fuck.
Oh my god. And I tried to drive up Trescott and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was blocked.
And I just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something.
Drive down, Trescott's blocked, you turn around, you go back around on Benton, and then you go
There's a tree.
Right. Pardon?
I thought it was like a tree that fell down or something.
Right.
I didn't even think like that's the house. I saw a few houses blocked off and I was driving up the street and I saw like the tape and I just thought, oh, maybe there's like an electrical outage or something. And I drove up Trescott because it's the shortcut. And so I drive up Trescott and I see the tape and I was like,
It appears you were traveling on Centerville Road. I'm referring to your visit to the crime scene.
I did not visit the crime scene.
Okay. You did not pull up to the crime scene tape on Trescott Drive?
No.
I was driving up the street and I saw like the tape.
I was driving on Centerville Road and sometimes I would take the shortcut through Trescott.
Yes, ma'am.
But when I was driving on Centerville Road, I saw some sort of tape or obstruction, and so I didn't turn.
Okay. On the way to run your errands, did you go by the crime scene?
No.
On the way to run your errands, did you encounter a roadblock on Trescott?
I did.
All right, so you did turn off of Centerville onto Trescott.
I did. There was some tape, and it looked like the road was blocked off, and so I just turned around and went back and went up Benton.
It makes sense that you might have left your residence at about 12:30?
Sure.
Okay. And did you go to the crime scene or very near the crime scene on your way from your residence to, I guess, to lunch or to wherever you were going next?
No, I did not.
So you never turned on Trescott Drive that day?
I went to turn on Trescott Drive, but I saw that it had been blocked off by some tape, and so I just kept driving on Centerville.
Okay, and when you had to turn around at the tape, right, to go back out?
I think I tried to turn right, and it couldn't turn, so I would have made like the kind of turn, like a K-turn thing.
Was there a roadblock there with?
There was tape.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Tape.
Yeah, and an officer was there?
I didn't see an officer, but I did see a car.
A law enforcement marked vehicle? Okay, did you have any contact with the officer?
No.
Okay. Did you do anything after that to try to find out what was going on down that roadway?
No, I just assumed it was weather or maybe a tree fell.
Your testimony, officer, is that it appeared that this van, which had a clear view of her ex-husband's house, right?
I didn't even think like that's the house.
Yes. Your testimony is assuming to this jury that it was Wendi Adelson that was driving that car, right?
I'm sorry, say that last part again.
Your testimony, or what you're suggesting to these jurors, is that that may have been Wendi Adelson in that maroon color in this vehicle, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and an officer was there?
I didn't see an officer, but I did see a car.
A law enforcement marked vehicle? Okay, did you have any contact with the officer?
No.
Okay. And so your testimony was also that when the car came, the person didn't stop and ask you what's going on, right?
No.
And I just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something.
Person didn't get out screaming, oh my God, that's my ex-husband's house, right?
And so I drive up Trescott and I see the tape and I was like,
No.
And you would agree with me that that may be considered a normal response to seeing law enforcement and crime scene and EMS and somebody that you had a relationship with, that's their house, right?
Quite possibly.
So the normal response would have at least been to inquire, correct?
I can't say what her normal response was because I don't know what her role exactly was.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. The car in question didn't stop, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Didn't stop to inquire to you as to what's going on, right?
No, sir.
Did you do anything after that to try to find out what was going on down that roadway?
No, I just assumed it was weather or maybe a tree fell.
Didn't get out of the car?
No, sir.
Didn't ask you any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. And pretty smoothly made a 3-point turn and drove away, right?
Correct.
I would have made like the kind of turn, like a K-turn thing.
We have just begun to scratch the surface. There is much more in this web of deceit that Wendi has spun for herself. So please, stay tuned.